Hey guys, it's Allie, and today we are going to be playing a game called Mycorrhiza. It is a visual novel, manga horror inspired. So let's get into it, shall we? Let's go here. Door number 1. Act 1, Pets. Oh, I shot awake, panting heavily, my clothes sticking to my skin due to all the sweat. My eyes darted around the room, but everything was quiet. I seemed to be safe. A nightmare. Seems like I just had a nightmare. I couldn't remember it anymore, but it must have been horrifying. Chills were still running down my spine. It's just a dream, just a nightmare, nothing more. After calming down, I decided to take another look around the house. The fact that no one was here, even though the lights were on, was still nagging at the back of my mind. But I was more confident that I'd be able to find help now that it was daytime. I left the bedroom to retry the doors just in case they were still locked. I just wanted to go home and take a shower. I smelled my clothes, and they indeed had started to smell slightly sour. This place seemed to have nothing left to offer. I'd be better off out in the streets now that it was day, even if I was still missing my wallet. I left the house for the bright sunlight. The back street didn't seem so bad anymore. I found it to be rather cozy and quaint. I made my way down the path until I heard the faint sound of conversation in the distance. A weight lifted from my heart when I first glimpsed people walking around the pedestrian area. There weren't too many of them, though. As I looked around, I got the feeling that it was a rather small town. Trees and flowers were planted at regular intervals, which I gave it more of a rural atmosphere. It didn't matter. I could finally ask for help. Excuse me, can you tell me where I am? The woman blinked at my approach. She frowned and scowled in my general direction. She looked uncomfortable talking to me, so I thanked her and let her be. I had never heard of a town like that before. How did I end up here? I thought of being somewhere I didn't recognize scared me. How was I supposed to get back home if I didn't have the slightest idea where to go? I took a deep breath to calm myself down. My next best bet would be asking to allow me to make a call from their mobile phone. I approached an older man in a business suit. Excuse me, may I use your phone? I'm a bit lost and would like to call a friend of mine so he can pick me up. His lips curled in a grimacing frown. Sorry, I'm in a bit of a hurry. I approached person after person, but I had no luck. No one wanted to lend an unkept, half-dressed stranger their phone. As I made my way through this side street, I overheard 2 elderly women. I heard of some violent incidents recently. Most got away with just a flesh wound, saying that they were attacked by someone or something. Yeah, I heard that too. I wonder if it has anything to do with the pet disappearance. I heard of another cat that had come back in several days. I was so confused on the conversation that I almost ran into a girl. I mumbled an apology until I realized that she had approached me on purpose. Hi. Hi. You need to call someone, right? She extended her hand and offered me her phone. How did you know? People have been talking about you. We've had some violent crimes here recently. Everyone is a little on edge. Many pets have been getting sick. Some say someone has been poisoning them. She nervously shuffled her feet and glanced away. Thank you. It won't take too long. I took her phone. It was a red flip phone with a small panda hanging from the strap. The top bar read, May's phone. Her background was set to a side view picture of herself in a pedestrian area that looked oddly familiar. It struck me as a bit odd that she was using a picture of herself, but who was I to judge? I brushed that thought aside and dialed a friend's number. But the call didn't go through. I tried it again, but the result was the same. Maybe his phone was turned off. I tried my parents' house phone, then my job's front desk, then my boss's personal cell. Each time, the call failed. I was sure that I had the right numbers. Maybe the phone had a bad connection. It seems like the calls won't connect for some reason. Maybe we'll have more luck trying a landline. My phone does act up sometimes. You might be right. Still, thank you a lot. I didn't want to hold her up any longer, so I gave her phone back and wandered off with a rushed farewell. Leaving that way may have been a bit rude, but I was too frustrated to care. I just wanted to look for another way to get in contact with somebody I knew. It occurred to me that I should have asked her for directions to the police station. I turned to look for her, but she had already vanished. As I made my way through town, I now definitely feel the tension in the air. She was right. Everyone was on edge. While I was passing by an alleyway, something caught my eye. They were too big to be rats. I couldn't really make anything out other than the eerie glowing eyes. Maybe it was a cat gang searching the trash for food. I was starving. But I couldn't possibly just ask random people to feed me since my wallet was missing and I didn't have any money on me to buy something. Though, there were oddly tempting looking plants growing nearby. As I stared at them, I felt a pull. The strange appearance hypnotized me, and without me noticing, my feet inched closer and closer and closer. Eat them or don't eat them. It's moving my mouth. It wants me to eat them. Don't eat them. Don't eat them. Oh, I ate it. I couldn't really think while hungry, and who knew how long it's been since I've eaten, so it was probably either this or starving. I dug in. They didn't even taste that bad. Kind of grassy, but edible. Although it grew harder and harder to chew with every bite. Something red dripped onto the ground. I soon realized that a liquid was coming out of my mouth. I couldn't tell if it was blood or plant juice. More started to pour out as I panicked and tried to figure out what was going on. While feeling around my mouth, I realized that it had become totally numb. Suddenly, a fleshy chunk fell onto a red pool that had started to form before my feet. But was that my tongue? My vision became blurry, and my stiff body hit the cold ground. It was dark when I woke up again. I could make out that I was still laying next to the plants. It seemed like no one had bothered to help me. I tried to get up, but I couldn't. My whole body was paralyzed. I felt a sudden sting traveling through my head to my feet, and the pain grew by second. Something was happening to me. Oh, my hand. It was bending in weird ways. Not just my hand, my whole body. It was warping, but it seemed like I couldn't handle the transformation. My body writhed and snapped in two. Try again. Let's don't eat it this time. It keeps wanting me to... There we go. I broke away from the hypnotic pull of the plants. What was I thinking? It didn't matter how hungry I was. They may be poisonous. But my hunger was beginning to gnaw at my insides. My vision grew blurry. I didn't know how long it's been since I've eaten. Suddenly I collapsed and the world around me vanished. It was dark when I woke. It seemed like no one had bothered to help me. I tried to get up, but I couldn't. My whole body was paralyzed from hunger. Something was shuffling by my ear. I felt the sniffing of an animal, perhaps one of those cats I saw earlier. I couldn't bring myself to look. I lost interest and walked past me towards the plants. I heard more follow. As they padded into view, I noticed that something was off about them. It must have been my mind playing tricks on me. My hunger was overwhelming. Something about their bodies was wrong. They started to eat the plants. They were smacking rather loudly and made unnatural fleshy sounds. Every now and then, one would pause and give off a low growl that didn't at all sound like a cat, more like a slightly higher-pitched bear growl. After a while, the sounds diminished, and I felt their presence vanish. I gathered my strength and forced myself to my feet. What had just happened? What were those creatures? The violent crimes that I had heard about earlier popped into my mind. My hands began to shake silently. What would have happened if I hadn't been paralyzed? If they had noticed that I was still alive? Most house lights were still lit. It must have been out for long. Once again, my body gave off a deep growl. It was as if my stomach was eating itself. I had to get some food, or else I was in danger of collapsing again. Being as desperate as I was, I approached the next best house and knocked. I was surprised when the door actually opened. Hi there. Come on in. How nice of you to visit. Before me stood a fashionably dressed woman with a big smile on her face. At first glance, she seemed welcoming, but movements were rather stiff and almost mechanical, as if they had been practiced over and over again. The hat, scarf, and bag around her shoulders suggested that she was just about to leave. Oh, the bag. Don't worry about it. I just think it suits me, so I've gotten used to wearing it around the house. Seems like she had noticed my confused look. It seemed impractical to dress like that at home, but I guess she was very conscious about her appearance. Now, come in. Everyone's already inside. Do we know each other? She took another, more through look at me and seemed to realize that we did, in fact, not know each other. Ah, you must be the new neighbor then. I'm Sabrina. Come in. She disappeared before I could correct her. I hesitantly followed her inside. On my way in, I saw a food bowl near the entrance with some strange-looking plants in it. Huh? She's been feeding those to her pet? I peeked after Sabrina into the living room. A man leaped onto his feet as he saw me and stretched his big hand out to me. His coat suggested that he was active in medical or scientific field, and that he had maybe gotten here right after work. His other arm hung down limply. Hi there. It's nice to meet you. I'm Frederick. How are you doing? I recuperated his firm handshake. Oh, I reciprocated his firm handshake, and he cheerfully gestured me to take a seat beside him. To my surprise, the girl who had helped me earlier was there as well. I believe her name was May. She gave me a small wave. It's starting to feel like a festivity. We should have neighborhood get-togethers like these more often. All right, this is... She turned and frowned in my direction while trying to remember a name she hadn't asked me for. Scott. I'm Scott. Right, Scott. He moved in nearby recently. I think so. I thought we should invite him in as well. Certainly, it's nice to see you. Ah, no, I'm not really. Oh, right, food. Give me a second. She rushed into the kitchen and came out with a steaming dish of food. I could make out different kinds of meat, baked potatoes, and more. My stomach gave off a deep growl, and my mouth began to water. Any thought of honesty about my origin was gone. The other visitors started piling food onto their plates, and I followed suit. As I devoured it and life came back to my body, I let my eyes wander over the others. Everyone seemed to be rather tense, especially Sabrina and Frederick. Their movements were rather stiff. Every now and then, they threw glances each other's way, glances that seemed to indicate mistrust. Sabrina seemed to especially be eyeing the cup that Frederick was drinking out of. Every now and then, when they noticed each other's looks, they'd put on a fake smile. It may seem like she hadn't planned to be here in the first place. Was she just dragged into it just like I was? As I was cleaning my plate off its scraps, something important flashed into my mind. Excuse me, would you mind if I used your phone? Sabrina tisked. I'm afraid I don't have one. I never cared for those buggers. She looked over to Frederick. Maybe you can use yours. Of course. I can show you to my house once we're ready to go. I gave off a sigh of relief and thanked Frederick. He waved his hand in the air. No problem at all. Please excuse me for a moment, though. He shuffled out of the room, presumably towards the bathroom. All right, I'll make some more tea. She scooped up Frederick's cups and left me alone with May. I cleared my throat and nodded in her direction. Thank you again for lending me your phone. I did appreciate that. You're welcome. I hope you will have more luck with the landline. Yeah, I hope so too. And I guess that was the end of the conversation. Perhaps she felt uncomfortable speaking to a weird-smelling stranger. I'm going to go wash my dishes. And there she went. The other two were taking quite a while. I used the opportunity to lend my eyes water around the room. The walls were dressed with paintings of all kinds, pictures of nature, as well as more abstract drawings. A fancy-looking framed piece of paper and a photograph that was standing on the drawer beneath them caught my eyes. The former seemed to be an art degree, and the latter of the picture Frederick and Sabrina. When they were younger, they were standing somewhere that could be a university campus. Both had a genuine smile on their face. It seemed like their friendship went back quite a while. Hey! Whoa! Did she sneak behind me? I thought she had a clear view of the kitchen entrance. I think I heard some rumbling coming from downstairs. Probably be good if you checked it out in case Sabrina hurt herself. Oh, well, she has been gone for quite a while. Maybe something did happen to her. Perhaps I should go take a look. I felt May's eyes follow me to the basement. I squinted down the stairs. It was almost pitch black. I swallowed back my nerves and carefully crept down the steps. Maybe I should have called out to Sabrina, but something told me not to. I managed to reach the bottom of the stair and peeked around the corner. There, I saw her kneeling by a lamplit in front of a lamplight. There, I saw her kneeling by a lamplight in front of a large cage. A basket of strange plants sat beside her. There, it's all right. Take a good snip of the cup. We need to hurry, okay? I know he's growing one too. Everyone is. Everyone wants to get rid of the competition. We need to hurry. She held Frederick's cups to the bars. Something in her voice disturbed me. Whatever was going on, I wanted no part of it. I returned to the living room as quietly as I could. There you are, all ready to go. Upon hearing Frederick's loud voice, I jumped. What I had seen in the basement made me a bit anxious. I took a quiet look around and saw that May was already gone. Sure, I'm ready. Leaving already? I just made some more tea. I turned to see Sabrina standing in the living room entrance with a put-on smile. Oh, sorry, dear. I'm just not young enough to stay out late like we used to. She put on a playful pout. Oh, you do wound me. Goodbye again. You know you're welcome any time. We bid our farewells and set out into the cold night. I was glad to leave. What I had seen was still nagging on my mind. Frederick might be in danger. I had to tell him. Scott. I hesitated. How was I supposed to tell him? I was myself. Wasn't sure what I had seen. But I collected myself and went for it. To my surprise, he wasn't nearly as upset as Sabrina as I thought he would be. He actually seemed to be more upset at me. I think you should not have snooped around in someone else's house who invited you over. I was left perplexed. What just happened? I thought I was warning him, but instead I've been scolded like a child. His face relaxed, and he gave me his usual smile. It seemed slightly pained at this time. I suppose there had been no harm done. Perhaps he just didn't believe me. I couldn't blame him. I noticed more and more vacant houses as we crept through the town. Some were boarded up. Doors had been left wide open. Why are there so many empty houses here? These houses have been vacant for a while now. You need not worry. I was sure that I passed here earlier, but I didn't notice any abandoned buildings back then. They couldn't have left so suddenly. It's just half a day, could they? An uneasy feeling started to fester inside of me. Here we are. We stopped before the house that looked much like every other house in this town. He stepped inside. I hesitated at the entrance before trailing behind him. Come on in. No need to be shy. Do you want something to drink? No, thanks. Frederick hesitantly grunted and led me down the hallway. I only wanted to use the phone and get out. All this weirdness of the day had got me on edge. But what if I still couldn't reach anyone? Where would I go? I was balancing a fine line between hope and despair, and the phone call would probably be what would topple me into either direction. All right, here you are. The phone had a cord attached to the receiver. It seemed rather old-fashioned, but at least it had buttons instead of a rotary dial. I picked up the receiver and tried a number. Am I doing something wrong? There's no dial tone. Huh? Let me see. He took the receiver from my hand and pressed a few buttons. He let out a disappointed sigh. Not again. Those damn rodents keep getting to my cables. I'll go take a look. Feel free to make yourself at home. In case you get thirsty, I fetched a small bottle of soda from the kitchen, gave it to me, and went into the... He fetched a small bottle of soda from the kitchen and gave it to me and went into the basement. It seemed like I wouldn't be able to leave quite so soon. Once I held a drink in my hand, I started to get thirsty. I took a sip and thought about what to do next. Should I stay here and wait or take a look around? Kind of don't want to get scolded again. I didn't think he would be happy with me poking around, considering how he felt after I told him about what I saw at Sabrina's house. Not wanting to test his kindness, I waited. Alright, it's all done. I jumped. Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. No, it's fine. That went faster than I had expected. Good thing I decided against snooping around. The phone should be working now. Feel free to give it a try. I'll give you some space. Call me when you're done. He took the bottle I had drank from earlier and left through the hallway. I had an odd sense of deja vu. I shook it off and started dialing some numbers. They were all the same that I had already tried on May's mobile phone. Once again, they failed to contact. Once again, they failed to connect. How could that be? I was 100% certain that they were correct. I tried all the numbers of friends, family, and even work colleagues I could think of until finally. Yes, hello. It was a woman's voice that I didn't recognize. I was certain that I had dialed the number of one of my coworkers. Excuse me, isn't this Tom's phone number? I don't know who that is. Are you another scam caller? Don't call me again. She hung up. Alright, something was definitely wrong here. It might be best to talk to Frederick and see if he could help me somehow. Maybe he had a clue as to how I could go back home. I crept down the hall. He went this way, right? I began to hear some murmuring. A steady chill ran down my back. The sound was coming from the basement. The old floorboards squealed beneath my toes. I saw flickers of a weak light coming from down the steps. I took them as gently as I could. I held a hand over my mouth to quiet my breath. I reached the bottom and turned a corner. It was just like before. Frederick knocked before a big cage, a small lamp next to him, and held something up to the bars. He hissed to whatever was inside. Yes, you have the scent now, don't you? We must take care of this one tonight. He's curious. He will find the secret much faster than the others. No. We can't have him make something like you, too. It's kill or be killed in this town. My stomach dropped out of underneath me as I heard the horrible scraping from inside the cage. I took a step back, bumping into the wall. Before I could react, I accidentally switched on the main light. The sudden flood of white blinded me for a moment. Once my eyes adjusted, the first thing I saw was it. Frederick was screaming at me, but I could barely think about him. I couldn't look away from that creature. It was cowering inside a dirty cage that seemed to be too small for it. It had features of human, but I could also see some elements that were distinctively dog-like. Its mouth was way too big, and the inside of it was filled with seemingly random set teeth, or at least something that resembled teeth. Worst of all, were enormous eyes staring right back at me. Frederick fumbled with the lock on the cage. My feet finally began to move. I ran out of the house and into the streets. All the while I thought I was frantically running through my head. I had to get out. I had to get away from this demented town. With this, though, clouding my mind, I hadn't realized that I had exited town already and was now in a big grassy plain. Breathing heavily with fear flooding my mind, I had almost not noticed how heavy my legs had become. Soon, I was struggling to stay on my feet, and my vision slowly darkened from exhaustion and panic. I wanted to look back to see how close the monster was, but I was too afraid of seeing it right behind me. I gathered my courage and quickly glanced behind me, and to my surprise, the thing wasn't following me. I didn't know if it had followed me in the first place, but it seemed like Frederick wanted to send it after me, to kill me. Realizing that I was safe for now, I stopped. My legs were numb and almost gave in, but I managed to keep standing. I couldn't believe what I had just seen. It couldn't be real. There's no way to explain what I had seen, and every inch of my body repulsed the idea of such a monster exiting. But I had seen it with my own 2 eyes. I continued on at a slower pace this time, and soon came to a small but quietly flowing river. It wasn't good at night to get my clothes wet, but it looked small enough for me to jump over with running start. I wasn't the athletic type, but I managed to leap over the gap. Suddenly my feet staggered. A wave of fatigue came over me. It was as if I had stepped into a veil. The air had gotten heavier and my breathing became more ragged. I clutched my chest and I tried to figure out what was going on. Throbbing pain pulsed through my back. It was as if something had stabbed me. My feet gave in and my vision darkened. I could feel a presence near me. The monster, Frederick. Before I could find out, my consciousness faded. Alright, that was Act 1. That was good. I've enjoyed that one. So if you would like to play this game, read the story yourself, the link of the game will be in the description down below. And if you also like this video, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you next time.